And you're gonna need to be set up, especially look for the beginning and the end, you're just gonna need a wall. So I don't know if you need to like, you don't, if you have a good spot in the middle, you don't need to like leave your designated spot. We're just doing a couple little shoulder openers on the wall in the beginning of practice. And then we might use the wall for some restorative stuff towards the end of practice. Well, maybe not even restorative. We're going to do some upside down stuff at the end that can be active or passive, depending on what you're feeling. Feel free to put blankets or pillows or something underneath your hips just for a little elevation. And so, as I was saying, set yourself up for this, just the first warm up, so you're about an arm's width distance away from a wall. We're just going to do some gentle shoulder openers with that wall in a moment. And then just bring your hands down onto your legs, whatever leg position is most comfortable, and whichever leg position facilitates a nice long lifted spine. You're going to draw your shoulders up by your ears. And then just exhale, slowly let the arms come back down, finding that starting point. Maybe moving the neck, the head a little bit, just to see if there's a difference, if there's any difference in sensation, one side to the other. And then close your eyes. Take a slow, deep breath in through the nose. And then exhale softly, coming out of the mouth. We're going to do a couple of those slow, deep breaths in through the nose, and then exhale. It's not a force, it's not a rush, a heavy push, but you're just exhaling, kind of letting the breath seep out. And a breathing practice that I've been working on this week, we did on Monday night in class, and kind of returning to again, is kind of assigning some quality, some texture to that breath. So as you inhale, kind of visualize or imagine that breath that's coming in is kind of clear, white, you know, like a white fluffy cloud, clear, cool, pure. And then the exhale that you let come out, and again, it's more of a seep than a press, maybe has a little bit of the residue in your body that you want to get rid of. There can be more of a smoky quality to it, heaviness, moisture, dampness. So think of this breath as clearing, and maybe if we kind of assign a visualization of what clearing might look like in your breath, that'll help you use the breath to remove what you don't need. So, and that might mean some different things to different people. Your clearing might be like picking up the trash in your in your living room or whatever. It might be really kind of visualizing things that you need to let go going out with that breath, or it can be more kind of nebulous. But just take a few breaths like that. Inhale this kind of cool, pure breath in, and then the exhale is letting go of the stuff inside of you that you should let go this morning. A nice light sweeping with the breath. Letting out qualities of tension. Disarray. And maybe as you're doing this little sweep with the breath, it really kind of brings to the forefront of your mind either something that you need to let in, some of that purity or that clarity that you need to let in, or something that's been obstructing you from that you need to let go of. And that can inform your intention for practice. Take about 5 more breaths like that. Inhale. pure, clear, light. Exhale out. Heaviness. Cloudiness. Good. And then from here, you're going to open up your eyes. Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead. And as you exhale, you're going to twist. Bring your left hand onto the wall behind you. So you can see my fingertips are kind of pointing up towards the side. I have just a little tiny bend in my elbow so I can really position my arm so that my elbow points down towards the floor. And that's going to draw your shoulder blade down towards the floor. Versus if your elbow's kind of out to the side, the shoulder rolls forward and up. You want that shoulder going back and down. Now, I want you to spread your fingertips really wide. Press into the wall firmly. Think about getting all of your knuckles into that wall. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. And then let's exhale, look over our right shoulder. I'm going to take a few slow, deep breaths here. If you've got stuff going on in your shoulder, you might get a little tingly sensation in your hand. Just position the shoulder a little bit up or a little bit down if it feels kind of uncomfortable and nervy. I'm going to take my right hand and putting it on my left knee now. Inhale, sitting up taller and kind of pressing down onto that hand so I can twist and look right. Big deep breaths. Really feel like you're breathing to open up that space in the left side rib cage. And then exhale, come out of this. You're going to take that left hand and you're going to turn your fingers now so they go towards the side. You can see my fingertips behind me going that way. And you might even be able to walk them a little bit behind you. Again, think about pressing all of your knuckles into the wall. Think about your elbow kind of dropping down towards the ground to bring the shoulder with it. Right hand's pressing in the left knee so I can get nice and tall. And again, I'm going to look over my right shoulder. And this time I might even bring my chin towards my shoulder. Good, breathe here. Again, there's something weird going on in your arm, kind of nervy or tingly. Shift the position of your arm a little bit and see if that can make this a little more accessible. This should feel like a lot of stretch through the front of that right shoulder. Should feel a little bit of activation of that right shoulder, of the muscles around that right shoulder blade. So, and as we spend all that time talking about our breathing, to start, really pay attention to your breathing, especially kind of how it moves those left side rib cage against this shoulder that's kind of pinned in a strange position now. See if you can get some space between each one of those ribs as you breathe in and out. Good, one more breath in here. And then exhale, release that left arm. Oh, shake it a little. Wiggle it, make sure it's still there, it's still attached. Good, we're just gonna go right to the other side. If you were sitting with crossed legs, switch the lineup of your legs so the other leg's on the bottom. And then you're gonna start right fingertips on the wall, pointing up. You got enough space that you can kind of drop your elbow down, lift your chest up, lengthen your spine, and then kind of twist away from that right arm. I'm using my left hand, kind of pressing on the back of the right knee, twisting left. Good. Right elbow moves towards the ground. Face moves towards the left shoulder. Adjust if you need to. Take a few nice, slow, deep breaths here. Notice if your spine's kind of leaning. Try to stay really tall when you do this and just rotate. Okay, so one more breath in this position. Then you're going to take those fingers and you're going to turn them, I guess it's clockwise. You can see my fingertips are kind of behind me. And you might even be able to walk those hands a little further. But make sure you've got space that you can bend your elbow, kind of bring the elbow down. And you want to be able to press as many of the knuckles into that hand as possible. Ooh, this position is really tight. So maybe noticing as you kind of rotate the arm, how that's going to change where you feel the sensation or how intensely you feel the sensation. I'm going to try to act cool. Turn your face to the left and then bring chin down towards the shoulder if you did that on the other side. And again, then once you kind of get yourself into this position where the body doesn't seem like it can go much further, then bring all your awareness to your breath. And really specifically feeling how breath can move the right rib cage against that shoulder, and maybe even against the neck here too. Couple of slow, easy breaths. And then go ahead and release the hand. Give it a little shake. Wrap both arms around yourself. Give yourself a nice big hug. Just walking those fingers as far back as they'll go. Lift your elbows up so they're in line with the shoulders. Take a breath in here. On that inhale, fill the whole torso. And then exhale, let the breath out. Let's switch arms. Other arm on top. Walk those fingers back. Elbows up. Inhale. Fill the whole torso. Ooh, exhale, let that breath out. Release your arms, and you're just going to shift yourself to hands and knees. If you had kind of moved your position off your mat to use the wall, go ahead and just make your way back to your mat. We'll be here for a while. Hands on the floor, knees underneath the hips. Inhale, arch your spine. Elbow up, belly down, lift your face. Exhale, round your spine. Tuck your tailbone in, lift your belly up, lift back. Inhale, arch. Good old cow pose. Exhale, round. Good old cat pose. See how your body moves against the arms and against the shoulders here, especially since you just spent so much time kind of working on movement here and breath here. Good. And then we'll come back to neutral. You're going to keep your left hand on the ground. I'm turning to face you so you can see my knees. I'm trying to keep a little space between my knees and like hip width distance. And I want to keep the upper leg still as we do this. Inhale, you're going to sweep your right arm up. Exhale, slide the right hand through, thread the needle. We'll do this dynamically a couple times. Inhale, come up. Be aware of your legs and your hips. Try not to let them move. Exhale, sweep through, just kind of grazing the ground with that right arm, right side of the head. Inhale, sweep the arm up. Exhale, slide through. One more time, go up, inhale. Exhale, slide through. We're going to stay down here. Position your upper body so that you don't have your neck in a weird angle. You can use your left hand for extra support if your neck feels uncomfortable or unsafe. But just try to drop that right shoulder to the ground. Bring your awareness back to your legs. Notice if the hips have shifted at all or if the feet have shifted. Try to keep hips, knees, and ankles in that parallel alignment here. One more big deep breath in. And then push into that left hand. Inhale, reach the right arm up, out, over. Turn your right thumb back behind you. Drop that right arm behind your back and give a little push. Right hand pushes into the left hip and the low back. Breathe across the chest. And then we'll go ahead and bring the right hand down and just switch sides. Inhale, left arm goes up. Exhale, slide that left hand through. Inhale, go back up. Keep your legs still. Sweep through. Inhale, back up. Exhale, sweep through. Inhale, come up. Last time, let's stay. Go all the way over. Kind of slide that left arm as far over to the right as it'll go. Right hand's on the floor. Give you a little extra support for your neck. Pull that right shoulder back in space.
Maybe shift your weight a little more onto the left side so we increase that left shoulder stretch. Be aware of your legs, ankles, knees, and hips still in that parallel alignment. And then from here, push into the floor. Inhale, sweep that left arm up, turn your thumb behind you, drop your arm behind your back, lean into that hand. Inhale, nice big deep breath in here. And then exhale, bring your hands back to the floor. We're just gonna shift up into downward facing dog. Curl your toes, lift your hips, pedal out the knees a little. Sway your hips a bit from side to side. Inhale, come forward, high plank, top of a push-up. Draw your shoulders back, pull your belly button towards the spine. Exhale, let's bring the knees down to the ground. And just shift back into a child pose. Take a big deep breath in here. Feel like you can open up the space from shoulder to outside of the hip. Do that again, nice big deep breath in. And then come back to all fours. So when you're coming to all fours, hands right underneath shoulders, we're gonna bring then the shoulders forward a little bit. So your knees are behind your hips. My toes are curled under, my toes are pressing onto the floor. Either stay down on your knees or lift your knees up and come into a plank. Just a couple breaths here. Inner thighs are drawing together. Belly's lifting up to the sky. Big deep breath in, fill the torso, feel those ribs move against the shoulders. And then exhale, you're coming all the way down to the ground. Forehead finds the mat. Fingertips line up with the bottom of the ribs. Pull the elbows back in space and then towards each other. Inhale, come up, baby cobra. Good. Can you do this with just your upper body? So really kind of keep the legs relaxed. Try not to let them fly off the ground. Toes are just kind of gently resting onto the floor. Elbows pull back and towards one another. Mid to upper back is working. Opening up the chest. Take a breath in here. And then exhale. You can either pass through your knees or go straight up to downward facing dog. Inhale here. Exhale, let that breath out. We're going to inhale, lift the right foot up behind us. And then exhale, bring that right foot all the way forward, coming into a lunge. Feel free to use blocks if you want to. You're going to heel toe that right foot out to the side, so you're in like a lizard lunge. Left knee is going to come down to the ground. Lift your chest, lengthen your spine. Right knee drops out to the side. And then inhale, draw that right knee back into center. Exhale, let it drop out. Inhale, pull it into center. I've been accused of doing this lunge, by the way, too often. If anybody hates it, I'm sorry, I can't stop doing it. Out to the side. Pull it in. Drop that knee out to the side. And then go ahead, pull it in. Let's change the position. Turn your right toes out to the side and kind of direct your right knee out to the side. Lift your chest, lengthen your spine. Good, and then keep that knee where it is. We're just gonna put the left hand on the ground, right hand on the inside of that thigh, and twist, lift over your right shoulder. Create a little force here. Hand kind of presses into the leg as you lean back. Now you don't wanna crunch your low back when you do that. Think about extending your spine to pull away, and then activate on the outside of that hip so you can really, it's almost like you're trying to pull your leg out of your hip socket. Take a big deep breath in here, and then come back to center. Turn your right toes so they're pointing forward again. We're gonna lift the back knee off the ground. Right arm's going up to the sky. Exhale, bend that right elbow, bring your hand behind your head, and lean back for a moment, kind of stretching through the chest like we've done a bunch of times today. Now, I want you to pull your left hip up in space and your right hip down in space. So the inner thighs are really working. And we're gonna exhale, right elbow as close to the right big toe as you can, and then inhale back to center. Legs don't move, it's just the upper body. Exhale, come down. Inhale, go up, which is a lot of work on the legs. Exhale, go down. Inhale, come up. Continue with your breath. We'll do about 3 more of these. Try to keep your legs still and just move your upper body to get that elbow as close to the thumb as you can get it. And then release your hand. Step that right foot back in space. You're in that plank. Your choice if you're going down to your knees or you're staying up tall. And just breathe here and kind of notice the difference between the sides. My right leg is definitely much more tired on this one. Inhale. And then with knees down or with up, exhale, come all the way to the floor. Uncurl the toes. Oops, I just put my toes in my teeth. Bring your hands back. Fingertips are lining up with those bottom ribs. Inhale into that small cobra. Try to relax through the legs. Let all of your toes just kind of rest on the floor. And find a little more effort in the upper body, especially that upper back, mid back. Exhale, back downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot lifts up. Exhale, bring that left foot forward into your lunge. And shift so the left foot is wide of the left hand. We'll bring the back knee down. Extend your spine, lift your chest. And then you're just moving that left knee in and out. Exhale to drop it out. Inhale to pull it into center. Just like when we do that kind of active like crunchy lunge, try not to move the lower body here. So this right leg is your anchor. Try not to move it as that left knee goes in and out. Good, bring that knee back in. Now we'll take the left toes. You're gonna pick them up and you're gonna turn them counterclockwise out to the left side. And then just extend your spine, lean forward, kind of bring your hips forward. That's going to change where you feel that stretch. Probably the inner left thigh, and depending on what you've been doing with your days, also that right hip flexor. A lot of sitting or biking or walking, you'll feel it there, or running. And then we'll do that little twist. So right hand's coming down, left hand on the left thigh, lean out. So I'm not leaning back, I'm going out, and then using the left hand to create a little traction, almost like I'm pulling that left knee away from the left hip socket. Breathe here. And then come back to center, left toes point forward. We bring that right hand in a little bit, right knee lifts, left arm. Then the elbow, lean back stretch. What can we agree? Did we do about 7 or 8 of these on the other side? So go with that with your own breath. Exhale, left elbow down. Don't let that right leg fall. Inhale, come up. Exhale, go down. Inhale, come up. Legs stay stable. Left hip pulling back and down a little. Right hip pulling forward and up. And then you're just finding that movement in the upper body. What number would we say? Maybe 2 or 3 more to go. And then hands to the floor. Shift your feet. Step back plank. Big deep breath in here. Knees to the ground. Hips back. Child's pose. Let's do a little side stretch in our child's pose. Walk your hands over to the right. Breathe through the left side. Then walk your hands over to the left. Breathe through the right side. And then go ahead and come back to center. Curl your toes. Lift your hips. Downward dog. You're going to inhale, right foot lifts. Exhale, let's step the right foot all the way forward. And this time we're going to come into a high lunge. Left hip pulls forward in space, right hip pulls back. Collarbones are wide, chest is open. Length through the lower part of the torso as you get a little deeper into this. Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead. Turn sideways, you can see me. Right hand's grabbing the left wrist. Side bend over to the right. Right hip drops down in space and pulls back. Breathe into the left side. Then inhale, straighten the torso back up. You're going to bring that left hand down. Switch your grip. So the right hand's going to do like an underhanded grip, like you're pulling yourself, like you're trying to get somewhere. I want you to pull your left hand over to the right. And again, kind of breathe into that left side. See what you feel. Keep that left shoulder dropping down as the right hand tries to pull you over. Good. Take a big deep breath in here. Sweep the arms back up overhead. We're going to plant into that right foot and just come up the stand, totally out of the screen. Left knee is up. Balance on your right hand. Your right hand. That's your right foot. Hands are up overhead, palms facing one another. Try to keep your shoulders soft. Draw your belly button to your spine. Today's going to be kind of like the long hold yoga pose practice, which is nice because that means you don't have to do a whole bunch of poses. You just have to hold some of them for a long time. Breathe here. Try to find a steadiness and easiness. Hopefully your back isn't working too hard. And then from here, we're going to shift. Bring your hands to heart center. Send that left leg back, going into a warrior three. And again, hold. If you're falling over, grab onto a wall or a chair and see if you can find some stability. Press through that left heel. Reach the crown of the head forward. Back toes closer to the floor sometimes makes it easier to balance, but quite frankly, that makes it a little bit more work on some of my hip muscles. One more big deep breath in. And then exhale, gently bend the knee, come back into your lunge. Arms up overhead. We're going to exhale, straighten the right leg, bring the hands to the hips, and then just skip this back, put in a foot pivot, heel down, toes out to the side, almost set up for pyramid pose. Your choice on arms. You can keep them on your hips, do opposite elbows, or maybe reverse prayer hands. Left hip's coming forward, right hip pulled back in space. Extend the spine. Right hip pulls back, chest reaches forward. So again, today is the long hold yoga practice. We're going to be here for a while. Notice you can really kind of stay in the details of this pose. I often say, it's pyramid pose. There's lots of right angles and long lines in a pyramid. There aren't a lot of rounded things. So really work on that. How long can you make your legs? How long can you make your spine? Draw your shoulders away from one another to open up your chest. You might be able to go down a little bit further. Be careful as you go down not to invite in some rounded lines. Stay long here. Three more slow, easy breaths. Inhale, that kind of cool, open calmness. Exhale, let out anything that's kind of heating up and maybe frustrating you. Okay, and then we're going to release the hands. Left hand's just finding that right leg somewhere, anywhere. Be up high or down low. Right hand on the right hip and twist. Revolved triangle. The pose that most people have to learn to love. Doesn't start as a loving pose. See what you can find in this. Same thing as that pyramid. It's a lot of straight lines here with just a twist in the spine. Keep your legs still. Push into that right big toe joint. Pull your right hip further back in space. If you want the top arm up, put the top arm up. We got like 20 more minutes here and then we'll get out. Just kidding. Breathe in. Exhale. Hands to the ground. Step back, high plank. Could be knees down or knees up. Notice what this plank feels like. Again, maybe a tired right side. Chest forward, heels back. This time you can go either all the way down to the ground and do baby cobra, or if you'd like to do low plank, chaturanga, and then upward facing dog. Do that. Do what makes sense in your practice. Downward facing dog. We have to do the other side. Left foot lifts, inhale. Exhale, bring that foot all the way up to the top. And we're gonna start in that lunge. Kind of find your center point. Right hip pulls forward, left hip pulls back in space. Really lengthen the spine up out of the legs. As you kind of sink a little lower into the lunge, arms are coming up overhead. We'll do our two different little grips. Left hand's gonna grab the right wrist, and you're gonna do that side bend. Left hip drops down. It wants to kind of scrunch up. So you're actively dropping that left hip down so you can get more stretch through that right side. Breathe into that side. And then we'll come back up and we'll switch our grip. So you're gonna drop your right arm in front of you. Left hand's gonna do that underhanded grip and pull it across. Kind of a nice stretch through the outside of the arm, all the way back towards the shoulder blades. You know, and if you've ever tried to get a child or a dog to go where you don't want them to go, think about that. This left arm is trying to lead and the rest of the body's pulling away a little bit. So we get that nice big stretch. Good big deep breath in. So we're gonna bring our hands up overhead. Put weight into the left foot. Lift the right leg up. Side two of the absurdly long held single leg balance pose. Try to be relaxed here. Not relaxed. Relaxed maybe isn't the best word because there's a lot of work to do, but try to be calm here. Don't work too hard. Yes, that left leg has to do a lot to support you, but if you feel like you're really tensing up, soften the knee a little, find a little bounce. You know, if your back is working really hard, move around a little bit so you can get it to relax. Draw your belly toward your spine. Imagine you're holding something overhead like a yoga block and kind of push into that imaginary space. Tricep spins forward. Arms are working, but we're not tensing up by the shoulders. Good, one more breath here. This is an impressive amount of balance I'm seeing through my windows here. All right, you're going right leg back. Hands on the hips for that warrior three variation. I do realize that that left leg has been working very hard. Now it has to keep working hard in a slightly different direction. If you're falling, give yourself a little support, wall or chair or something. Again, good news is we only have to do one set of standing poses because they're going to take so long. Oops, I'm wrong. Okay, back toes down. Back to your lunge. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, we're going to straighten that left leg, bring hands to the hip, and just right foot hops forward, plant the heel down. Give yourself a little bit of space left to right between your feet. Right hip pulls forward in space, left hip pulls back. Arms, you're either doing the opposite elbows, reverse prayers, or just keep your hands on your hips. Extend the spine, we're going into pyramid, stay long. Come forward. Left hip pulls back in space, right hip pulls forward. Inner thighs are working. Spine is long. Good. Notice if the pelvis kind of wants to turn open to the right side, you want to close it. Bring that right hip forward and that left hip back. Maybe you've got a little bit more space to fold deeper. If you do, just make sure that you're not letting the spine kind of round up. Stay long. 3 more breaths here. And then let's release. Right hand is finding the outside of that left leg somewhere. Left hand finds the left hip, and you're just rotating the spine, trying to move the lower body as little as possible. Most of the time that left hip kind of wants to pull forward as you twist. So really work. I'm gonna turn around real quick so I can show you. I even, especially on this side, will like stick my hand into my hip and pull that hip back in space to keep the legs stable. And rotate more. Again, if you did it on the other side, maybe that top arm goes up. Don't do that though if that bothers your shoulder. You want to be able to stay open here. Anybody know any good jokes? Okay, one more, big breath. Exhale, hands to the ground. Step back, plank. Maybe you've got knees down, maybe not. Chest is open, belly draws towards the spine, heels press back, crown of the head reaches forward. How long can you get? And then you're gonna come down either halfway or all the way to the floor. Inhaling upward dog or small cobra. Exhale, crack back child's pose. 5 slow, deep breaths in this child's pose. And then go ahead, come forward, and you're gonna come to lie down on your bellies. I'm gonna shift my camera angle just a tiny bit, but you can start crocodile pose. So just kind of make a little pillow with your hands. Rest your forehead on that pillow. Body's nice and long, and then we'll just bend at the knees. And you can windshield wiper your feet from side to side. And then replace the feet on the ground. All 10 toes are on the floor. Let's start to bring the hands back. I want you to bring your palms on the floor, thumbs out to the side, palms down. Just doing a couple different variations on locust pose. And we're gonna kind of separate our upper and our lower body. So let's start with the upper body. So I want you to think about lifting your palms off the floor. I always use the image like those air hockey tables. So you're just hovering here. And then draw those fingertips back so they kind of pull the shoulders down. And use that to lift yourself up. Fingers pull back. Shoulder blades are moving down towards the waist. Chest is opening. Back of the neck is long, so you don't have to look up really high. But think of this as if almost like somebody's peeling you off the ground, like pulling your hands back in space. Breathe here. Notice what it takes to get that breath, that inhale all the way down to the bottom of the belly. 2 more. And then put yourself back on the ground. Maybe rest the cheek. Make sure you switch sides. The opposite cheek is resting. And actually, while we have our hands, our head on our hands, let's do the lower body. And I want you to really think, from this low back all the way up to your head, your body's on vacation. It's not doing any work. We're going to think about hugging the toes together. If that hurts your hip, grab a pillow and put it between your feet. And then you're just going to lift your legs off the floor. And I want you to notice if your shoulders popped up, if your low back started working. It's really natural for the back muscles to try to do this work of lifting the leg. So while you're here, hold the legs up, take really deliberate breaths into your torso and see if you can relax your back, your shoulders. It should feel like a lot of work through the backs of the legs and the butt. And then go ahead and put your legs down. And sometimes we don't even realize that we were working a part of the body until we stop. So notice if your back or your shoulders relaxed a little bit here. Because now we're going to do both top of the body and bottom of the body, but we'll do bottom of the body first. So bring your hands back, fingertips on the floor, thumbs point out. Take a nice slow deep breath in. Draw your legs towards one another, lift your hips up. Notice if your shoulders and your low back have already started, relax them. If your low back is really working hard, maybe bend the knees a little bit. Also think about bringing your belly button towards your spine more. Then come up, full locust. Breathe here. Maybe about 5 breaths. But if you lose the ability to do a soft breath, come down earlier. You want to feel that inhale all the way down to the bottom of the torso. Back of the neck is long, so we're not tensing up. Good, one more here. And then put yourself on the ground. Just take a few breaths. Yeah, rest on the opposite cheek. Okay, we're gonna do one more of these little belly down backward bends. If you feel like your back has been really working a lot and it's maybe overdoing a little bit, come into a Sphinx pose. You can even do Sphinx with the knees bent and kind of windshield wiper side to side like a Sphinx and a crocodile mat. That might be option 1. Option 2 is to do that locust pose just the way we did it. Legs first, then upper body. I don't know, is that 3 up? The last option, I've lost track, is going to be to try to bend your knees and grab your ankles and come into a boat pose. All right, so Sphinx with crocodile, or come down, forehead on the mat. We're going to lift legs first. Really feel like you're drawing those heels out away from the body. Then we're going to lift the upper body. But you can stay here and breathe, or bend your knees, catch your ankles. It's harder to do once you're already lifted in that locust. Inner thighs are coming towards one another, chest is open, back of the neck is long. And again, just work on breathing all the way down into your belly. 3 more breaths. You might notice a little bit of shifting in the pose as you do that. Then go ahead, release yourself carefully to the floor. Roll over onto your back. Taking a nice big twist as counter to those backward bends. Let's do left leg long on the mat. Hug your right knee into your chest. And then we're going to take that right knee all the way over to the left side of the body. So kind of play with this position of that right knee, maybe pulling it up higher to the shoulder or having it lower away from the shoulder is going to change where along this outer hip to low back you feel this stretch. So just get into a spot, be there for a couple breaths, and then shift. If it feels okay on the neck, look towards your right hand. Oh, and a little extra shoulder. You can bend that right elbow, bring your hand behind your head, and rest your head in your hand. And intend this right elbow to come to the ground, even though it might not actually make it there. Right knee comes in, give it a little hug, and then let's just switch sides. Right leg long on the floor, left knee pulls in. Breath or 2 here. We're going to take that left knee over to the right side. And again, as you're going over, notice different sensation when the knee's up high, closer to the shoulder, or when it's down a little bit lower. and find one that feels like a good, appropriate stretch for you. And we start with that left arm out to the side. You can turn your face to look at that left hand. If you want to bend the elbow and do hand behind the head and get a little more stretch through that shoulder, do that. You're trying to get the left elbow towards the ground, which it may not get there. Go ahead, come back to center, hug that left knee in, then hug the right knee in. And just take a few breaths here. So this is an actual yoga pose, doesn't get a lot of credit. It's often just a transition to get from one thing to the other, but it's got some merit on its own. This is called Apanasana, or the energy freeing pose. And if you think about kind of really holding your legs into your body, feel free to use your arms, but also use a little bit of, hip muscles. Hold your legs into your body, and then take a couple of our big, deep Ujjayi type breath. And you'll feel your belly kind of expand against that compression of your legs. So if you think about kind of how tension rests a lot of times in the belly, big deep breaths here while you've got that compression maybe is a nice way to start to break up some of that physical tension. Often the tension that rests in our belly is not at all physical. So if that's emotional tension or stress, this is a good way to break that up. It also feels pretty good on the back if your back is tight. Okay, we're gonna roll over to one side. Come on up to sit. So you're gonna go back to your wall space, and you've got two options. So the first one would be legs up the wall. You're just trying to maneuver yourself, one hip as close to the wall as possible, lie down on your back, lift your legs up, arms out to the side, breathe here. That's gonna be obviously our more passive, more recovery type inversion. If your back gets tight with that, grab a pillow or a blanket and stick it underneath your sacrum so you're a little supported. If you are enjoying the long held planks or just the long held poses in general, try an L-shaped handstand. So my feet are just slightly out of the frame, I think. But my feet are on my baseboard. So I'm measuring my legs. I'm grabbing my phone just so that I know this is how long my legs are. I'm putting my phone right here. Because once you get upside down, sometimes you don't believe your own measurements. I'm now putting my hands right in line with my phone. I'm gonna lift up into like a little short downward dog. One foot as high as my hips, then the other foot joins it. Triceps back towards the wall, belly button up towards the sky. That's your L-shaped handstand. Everybody's disappeared off their screen, so I don't know what anyone's doing. If you have a question, ask. We're gonna spend maybe about 2 minutes here. So if you're in the legs up the wall, you are just trying to release tension, release effort, do the least amount of work possible in that pose. If you're doing the L-shaped handstand, obviously you're gonna need to do some effort or you're gonna fall over. Try to get some of that effort into the legs so that it's not all in your arms. Also get some into the abdomen. When I get up into this shape, my kind of main thought is belly button up towards the sky and feet press into the wall so the legs are really active. Yeah. And do what you can for a couple breaths.
If you're in that L-shaped handstand and you want to play with lifting one leg up at a time, feel free to do that. I'll show that real quick. If you're lifting the leg, I want you to think about a plank shape, that we want it to be very straight and long. So when you lift that leg, try not to let the leg float back and arch your spine. Try to be really tall, long, deliberate, straight line. Take about 10 more breaths wherever you are. If you had legs up the wall, slide your feet down, roll over to one side. If you were doing that L-shaped handstand, come off the wall, maybe take a quick child's pose. And then we will work our way back to our mats. So you're going to be seated with your legs long, fingertips by your side. Good. Coming into staff pose. Also often considered a pass-through. Or not even a real pose, just sitting, but put some intention to it. Press through those heels. Legs are nice and long, toes up to the sky. Intend for your rib cage to float right over the top of your pelvis. Fingertips are on the floor, or depending on your proportions, you might be able to get hands totally flat. I use a little fingertip. Shoulders pull back, crown of the head lifts up. Close your eyes. Take a nice, cool, even, clear breath in. Exhale. Let the breath out. Let it take with it whatever you don't need. Make a gentle sweeping. And then we're going to bend the right knee. Just bring that right foot in as close as you can to the hip. It's okay to cross over, you can cross over, and then we'll just do a nice gentle twist. Left arm wraps around that right knee. Look over the right shoulder. Get those right ribs to move back away from the knee. And then let's look left. Right shoulder pulls back. Face gently moves forward. Exhale, unwind. Switch legs. Left sole of the foot pops in. Bring it as close as you can get it, kind of belly to the thigh. Hop over if you've got the space. So again, this twist is a little bit like that Apanasana, that energy spring. When we get the torso snugged right up against that leg, it creates some compression on the belly. And then when we take those big, easy breaths, it's just a good way to break up tension in the midsection. Kind of coming into this twist, looking left to start, drawing those left ribs back in space, and then turn your face to look over the right shoulder. Left ribs pull back, face pulls forward. Make sure you're getting those big, full breaths all the way down to the bottom of the belly. And go ahead, unwind. Uncross the legs. Bring yourself down to lay on your back. Maybe just windshield wiper the knees a little bit from side to side. And we're going to stretch one leg long. Then the other. Arms by the side, palms face up.
Draw your legs back up to your chest one more time. Maybe with a little less force, but still awareness. Feel the body, feel the abdomen move and move into the legs as you breathe. And we'll roll over to one side. And we'll slowly push ourselves up to a comfortable seat. And we'll end here. Namaste.